If you call yourself an ally and all you ever do is say, I support queer people, and then you don't do the bare minimum to back that up, I'm revoking your allyship card and ripping it apart with my teeth. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I blocked a bunch of terms for that when the Wizard game came out, because I didn't want people talking about it in my chat. I always just call it Wizard game. It's not worth saying the full name of. Real ones remember when I got raided by someone playing that game. I was so mad. I was just sitting there like, do I be nice to them? Like, imagine playing the Wizard game and then raiding a trans person, like, huh? Huh? Now imagine knowing someone personally who played that game for rage bait. Because let me tell you, the day I saw that happen, I blocked them everywhere. It's bad enough playing it, but intentionally doing it for rage bait, like, yeah, good job. And I'm never talking to you again. Bye. Because, like, I also knew some people that were like, well, I'm gonna play that game so I can make fun of it, and then make fun of the fans of it. Which, it's like, that's such an awful idea. And I've been like, I was always vocally against that when people were saying that. Because, like, do I say it? Is it petty hot takes time? How do I say this? If you do something like play the Wizard game with the intent of making fun of transphobes who enjoy it, that's extremely performative. If you try and do stuff like that, I do not think you actually give a shit about trans people. And I say that because when you try and do something like that, when you try and bait outrage from bigots, the only thing you're going to do is make them double down on their position and then go attack trans people. That's all that's gonna accomplish. So when people say shit like that, I don't think they care about trans people. Yeah, there's a lot of like performatism in the VTuber community that like really gets under my skin. And like I'll give props to Tag, because when Wizard Game was going down, Tag approached me because he's like, hey, I'm really upset about this situation and I want to do something about it, but I don't know what to do. And I was like, okay, well, first of all, like, don't bring up the author at all, because I can't tell you guys how much like conversation about the trans issues gets dominated by talk about her, and that's what she wants. Like, it is so exhausting as a trans person listening to discussions about trans issues and hearing her name nonstop. So, like, literally talk about her as little as possible. And then I told him, like, don't even make it about that. Don't make it about her at all. And most importantly, do not play Wizard Game, because that financially benefits her and the hatred towards trans people. So instead, he did a charity stream while playing Elden Ring, calling it the better Wizard Game. Like, that's how you do it. You don't have to do anything crazy. You simply don't court an audience of bigots. That's all you have to do. I don't blame all the developers of that game, because at the end of the day, they're just taking on a job. Like, you gotta pay your bills, I get it. So I'm not gonna go after the devs. Which is why I also thought it was really stupid when people were like, well, if we don't support the games, we won't support the developers. Like, they always use that as a gotcha. And I'm like, you're fucking stupid. First of all. Because those devs already got paid. when you buy that game, your money is only going to the studio and her for licensing. Like, your money's mostly going to royalties for her. So that argument always pissed me off, because it just shows that people don't know shit about how the game industry works. Not that I'm an expert or anything, but I know that. But who I do blame... This is breaking my politics rule a little bit, obviously. But whatever. Who I do blame is the original director for that game. Because people are like, oh, well, she didn't write it, so it's not her. Like, she didn't write this story. Like, for one, it's based on a world that she wrote that's steeped in bigotry and colonialism. Like, you can't have that series without the harmful views that she put into them. Because they're, like, fundamental to the world. And two, the original game director for Wizard Game, he was a YouTuber known for anti-SJW videos, and that's all I'll say about it. So I do blame him. Because what I do know about Wizard Game, there is a lot of, like, anti-Semitic, like, dog whistles in it. Yeah, that's why I say I don't really blame developers on a project, because they're just trying to pay their bills. The VTuber space is full of a lot of people who just pretend to care about trans people. Which is really funny to me, personally, because I've always said this, but VTubing is inherently trans. Like, the sheer concept of being a VTuber is extremely trans. Not saying you have to be trans to be a VTuber, obviously. But it's really funny to me that a lot of people in this space that's about, like, expressing your true inner self and embracing it is full of a lot of people who don't care about trans people. That's the other thing. Okay, I'm not going to name specific instances, because I think people understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, infantilizing is a big one, but I say this every time that something involving trans folks happens. But if you're vocal, very important. If your vocal support of the trans community only gets vocalized when something bad happens to trans people, that's extremely conditional. And it's really frustrating and hurtful to see. Like, if I only ever see you talk about trans issues when trans people are being actively harmed, and this doesn't just go for trans people, this goes for any minority group. If your support of minority groups only comes out when that group is being hurt in some way, and you don't do anything for those groups unless they're currently being harmed in that exact moment, it feels really performative. It's like when I see trans people actively being harmed, and then I see a bunch of VTubers come out, and they're like, oh, well, MySpace is safe for you trans people. I think you're cute and awesome. I'm like, shut the fuck up. No. Because, first of all, it just feels like you're trying to milk a community that doesn't belong to you, which I really fucking hate. Yeah, it's that language. The cute and soft twins. That's so infantilizing. And trans men and non-binary people already have to deal with being infantilized on a daily basis. That when someone comes out and they have that very, like, lukewarm, performative attitude, and they do stuff like that and just use very infantilizing language about trans people, that tells me your space isn't safe for me. Because all you see me as is like cute uwu baby. Like, it just makes me fucking feral. Yeah, so the only good thing to come out of Wizard Game was an opportunity to weed out people who revealed themselves as not really giving a shit about me. Because let me tell you, I blocked a lot of people because they were like, fuck you, I'm playing it. I'm like, cool, bye. Like, the simplest thing ever, just being like, hey, don't play this video game and support a terrible person. They're like, I want to play the video game though. Like, okay, you lost a lot of friends then. I hope it was worth it for a mid-ass game. I got into a lot of arguments and discussions when the game was coming out. I stood on the side of you're free to play that game, but I'm not going to judge you for it. And my male friend could not understand that and got really mad at me. Told me to fuck off. They don't get to play that game guilt-free. Well, I mean, unless you're pirating the game, even then, because this was the thing, it's like a lot of people were like, well, if you pirate the game, it's fine, right? Like, a lot of people were like, you can just pirate the game and then it won't support her. But what's really funny about that is the rip of the game that's currently out there was made by a transphobe. And the README document has a lot of transphobic ideology in it. And basically support of that lady. It's like, even if you get a pirated copy of the game, it comes with a document of transphobic rhetoric. Basically saying, like, yeah, I pirated the game, but I still support her. Yeah, I feel that, Sim. Yeah, if I can stop playing Overwatch because Blizzard sucks shit, then you can skip one Wizard game. Plus, there's, like, so many other better games you could be playing right now. You could just not play it and move on with your life. Like, I'm positive that game wouldn't have gotten the attention it did if that property itself wasn't such a controversial thing. Because I think a lot of people only bought that game to make trans people upset. Case in point, I had someone I considered a friend, and he bought and played the game just for rage bait. Like, his going live message was literally like, oh, I'm gonna play it. I wonder if people will cancel me. Will this be my last stream ever? And I'm like, no one cares. Yeah, it is so simple to just not play it. I'm sure there's other games in your backlog you can play. Easy as. See people I saw as friends act like in such a manner. I know, like, that's why performative activism is so harmful, in my opinion. Because when it does come out, it does so much, like, when it comes out that someone who claimed to support a certain group doesn't actually give a shit, it's so much more harmful. Like, it's just mentally damaging to see. Like, again, this is breaking my politics rule a little bit, but fuck it, we ball. But when people are openly transphobic, I at least know where they stand. When people care about it, when they pretend to care about trans people, and then something happens that lets that mask slip, and they reveal their true feelings about trans people, that's way more emotionally devastating to me. But, like, Wizard Game is honestly one of the reasons I was doing Trans VTuber of the Week for a while. Because I was like, y'all motherfuckers, stop only supporting trans people when something bad happens. So I made a Twitter and Tumblr where I was showcasing trans VTubers every week. So I could be like, hey, you should be supporting trans people all the time, not just when something bad happens. And again, this applies to every minority group. But yeah, I don't have to name specific situations, but seeing someone's performative mask slip, especially in the VTubing space, I've seen it happen a lot. Like, that shit fucking sucks. Like, I feel like there are so many queer people in the VTubing space that there are a lot of people who just pretend to care so they can, like, benefit and ride off the back of the queer community. Because they're like, oh, majority of these people are like, gay and trans. I guess I have to care about gay and trans people if I want their views. Like, that's what it feels like a lot of the time, honestly. Like, you could just simply not say anything. But people want to pretend they care so they can get on a high horse. And then be like, well, I can't be transphobic. I have a trans friend. Again, not naming specific situations, but if you know, you know. So anyway, my whole point in this, just so we don't, like, stay on this for the rest of the stream, my whole point, like, you can just do the bare minimum to show people that you care about them. No one wants your performance. They just want your care and support. And being real, it's not hard to do. No one expects the world from you. They just expect you to show you care. Whether that's not playing a video game, whether that's using people's preferred pronouns, whether it's just educating yourself, like, you don't have to do a lot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Gliz. It's like no one expects you to go out of your way every single day to protect minority groups. We just expect you to, like, be honest and, like, do the bare minimum to show that you care. Let's be real. Like, it's so much easier to not play a video game than to play it and try and justify your actions. You can simply not play it and go enjoy another game. Anyways, just be nice to people and actually care. People don't see the difference between general care and support and indifference as long as it doesn't inconvenience them. Yeah. Like, again, that like falls into the performative side of it, which I have nothing against people inherently who self-identify as allies. But my thing is, if you call yourself an ally and all you ever do is say, I support queer people, and then you don't do the bare minimum to back that up, I'm revoking your allyship card and ripping it apart with my teeth, and then I'm going to fucking crush you. Because if you call yourself an ally and you're like, queer people can exist, I guess, then you're not really an ally. I really appreciate that, Gliz. I try my best to, like, talk about these things on a regular basis without getting too deep into politics. But the thing about life is that most things are inherently political, especially when who you are as a person is politicized. So sometimes it's unavoidable. But, like, this in particular is a topic I try and take opportunities to talk about because I don't think people think or speak on it enough. Kept thinking of you specifically when talking about how buying the game directly funds hate. I didn't back down. I really appreciate that. Yeah, honestly, that game coming out, it was a really, really difficult time to be on Twitch. I was always scared of getting raided by someone who's playing it, and then I did. And I tried to talk to the dude about it, but he just got really angry. And the person I was depending on in that situation to support me through it was more upset about losing a tier 3 sub than helping me. If you know, you know. But they cared more about their money than their friend. So yeah, that time to be on Twitch fucking sucked ass. My Nouns of Pro. Okay, this is like full circle. Getting on my trans politics and my English major shit. But I always think it's so funny when people are like, they isn't a singular pronoun, it's for a group of people. So you can't, as an individual, use they, them pronouns? And I'm like, bitch, what? They try to make it a grammar argument, and I'm like, my brother in Christ. They can be singular. They has been used as a singular pronoun since like the 1700s. Not to be that bitch. Not to be that bitch. I'm sorry if I'm peeking my mic at all. I got myself worked up. Not to be that bitch, but let's go ahead and look at the dictionary definition of the word there. Hey, transphobes, what's this? Hey, look at, is that person singular? Is that a singular? Get Oxford. Oh, look at that. There's that singular again. Yeah, I was always taught that they was used for people of unknown or unspecified gender. Like, as a child, I was taught that. And, like, people use singular they all the time. Yeah, honestly, the only reason I don't talk about trans issues as much as I want to is that there are plenty of people who know more than me. And I don't want people to feel like... How do I word this? No trans person is obligated to educate you. Like, you can't expect to go up... And not saying that you think this is the case. But I know plenty of people have been like this, where they just think that they can walk up to any trans person and they'll educate them on trans issues, when that's no one's job. I don't have to educate people on it. There are plenty of trans people in chat right now who are also not obligated to educate people on it. But I want to help people understand some things in the best way that I can. So as long as I'm, like, feeling up to it, I don't mind talking about it and explaining it to folks to better understand. Yeah, it is genuinely exhausting to have people constantly come to you and ask you, like, am I doing enough for trans people? And I'm like, you probably are. As long as you're treating them like human beings, you're doing enough. Like, honestly, what helped me realize I was non-binary was talking to one of my trans friends about her identity. And then I was kind of like, wait a second. Why does this make sense? I mean, that's the other reason I like to answer questions for people. Like folks who are asking about trans issues. I like being able to talk to them about it and let them ask questions, because I know that's like a big step in people's own like personal exploration journeys. I've had a lot of friends come to me and be like, hey, I never would have realized I was trans or non-binary if you hadn't talked to me about it. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Yeah, but it's always really nice to see people just like feeling comfortable enough to explore themselves. Yeah, because like for folks who don't know, my previous VTuber design it wasn't femme, but it was less androgynous than this one. Like it was definitely more femme presenting. Um, and the reason I stopped using that design, for one, it just didn't feel like me anymore. And for two, it led to a lot of people misgendering me on a regular basis, despite me putting my pronouns everywhere. Like, I was getting misgendered almost daily while using that design. Not that it's my design's fault. Again, it wasn't especially femme. I think it had more to do with my voice than anything. Um, but there was one person who was really egregious about it and would keep misgendering me no matter how many times me or a friend corrected them to their face. Because then they would be like, well, I didn't misgender them. That's not what I said. I'm like, we just heard you say it. And that was like the tipping point for me to be like, I want a new design that feels more me. Like my old design was how I wanted to be, and this design is who I am. Yeah, like this is something I talk about too. I've talked about this a lot with friends, but I don't know if I ever talked about it on stream. But for a while I was thinking about putting my pronouns like on my actual overlay. Like just like in the corner under me or something. But I was like, one, the people who aren't going to see that in my bio and in my tags and in my pronoun command aren't going to see that on screen because they have no reading comprehension. Like, if they didn't care to see it in my bio and stuff, they don't care to see it on my screen. And two, I don't like the idea that trans and non-binary people have to put their pronouns on screen. Yeah, exactly. You shouldn't have to. Again, it's like it's putting the weight on me. It's putting the weight of you respecting who I am on me. And that shouldn't be the case. Like, you should just learn to look for that information if you care about respecting someone. Or just ask. You can always just ask. Like, my friend Longy has a pronoun check redeem in his stream. And all it is it's an opportunity for people to tell each other their pronouns. And, like, it's really, really nice to normalize something like that. Like, how much work is it to just scroll down or look below my title? I'm pretty sure it's in my tags. Yeah, I have they, them in my tags. So I have it in my tags and bio. So how hard is it for an individual to look below the title or scroll down just a little and see that there? It's really no effort at all. The first time I go into someone's stream, actually, excellent point, me. Thank you. The first time you go into someone's Twitch chat, it opens up their rules, and you have to read and accept their rules before you can talk in their chat. At the top of my rules, when you enter my chat for the first time, it says, I use they, them pronouns. Please respect that and the pronouns of people in chat. That's like the first rule when you enter my Twitch chat. So if you can't even read that, that's on you, not on me. And I'll say this too. Misgendering people happens. You're not the worst person in the world if you misgender someone once. But in the event when you do misgender someone, the proper response is just to say, I'm sorry. And then that's it. Just say, I'm sorry. And then make an effort to use their proper pronouns in the future. That is literally all you have to do. What you don't do, and I'm saying this because people do it to me a lot, and I've seen people do it to my friends a lot. The biggest thing you do not do when you misgender someone, do not make up an excuse. The worst thing you can do is make up an excuse for why you misgendered them. Because not only does that tell me that you don't really care, not even that you don't care, just that you didn't, how do I put it? When you misgender someone and make up an excuse for it, it makes me think it's less likely that you're going to make effort in the future to not let that happen again. It's not like, I'm so sorry, I'm never going to do it again. I didn't want to disrespect you. It's like, oh, sorry, I was just really tired from work. I had someone tell me that before, and I don't hold them against them because they were a regular, and very sweet. So I don't think they meant anything malicious by it. But when you use an excuse like I just got off of work, so I'm tired, as your like reasoning for misgendering someone, like that's actively hurtful. Yeah, when people like blow it out of proportion too. I knew someone, I won't say who, but there's someone I don't talk to anymore. If you know, you know. But whenever they would misgender one of our friends, they would just straight up scream obscenities as like a punishment to themselves for getting it wrong. Like they would just scream fuck over and over whenever they misgendered this person. And like it made me so fucking uncomfortable. But like if your reaction to misgendering someone is making up excuses or having an emotional outburst, I'm taking a big sidestep away. Like, the best thing to do is the simplest thing to do. Just say, I'm sorry, and move on. That's it. Like, if you misgender me, and then just apologize and make an effort not to do it again, we're cool. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Yeah, we all goof up. I've misgendered people in the past, and I just apologized and did better. The only time it's a problem is when you say, I'm not going to do it again, and then you keep doing it. Appearance and performance thing all over again? Exactly. But again, that's my whole point in this. I said I was going to stop, and then I just didn't. I got myself worked up. It's all the caffeine. But that's like the point, the through line in all of this is just, all you have to do is respect people and do the bare minimum. That's all anyone expects of you in life, in any situation. Save your canvas? I will.